document that helps the youth to map out how they are going to participate. And the other side of it is that it also serves as a way of communicating youth ideas, youth proposals to the most important policy makers to factor into the compilation of the newer versions of the NDCs and national communication.
Thank you very much, Victor. And Ella is from the YCC, and she's going to tell us more about implementation, accountability, and all the mechanisms that has to do with GAICA. So, Ella, what mechanisms are proposed for tracking GAICA? How do we know it's effective? What is the monitoring status of this project?
Okay, so I think I would start by saying that GAICA is another attempt at bridging the different fragmentation of youth organizations that we have. So this is a good roadmap to bring us together to have a shared idea of what we should be doing. And so GAICA, in this document, we have a very robust framework of M&E and L, MEL now, that talks about timelines, key indicators, and milestones that would allow youth organizations to share for other people to even come. Sometimes it's very difficult to come about data. So it's important that this is all put together. We have a central point where we can all put it together, and then other youth organizations can learn from others. So your success becomes a starting point for me to also come on. So we have a lot of recommendation on our monitoring and evaluation system in this GAICA document.
Great, that's really nice. It's nice to know that there is no more gatekeeping. Can I say that? Great. So back to you, Ella, for the sake of our teens over here, you mentioned M&E and L. Could you tell us what these abbreviations stand for?
Okay, so MEL, monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Okay. Yes, if you have a project, you want to see how the project is going, you want to evaluate it, you want to learn both what went well, what didn't go well, what are the best practices, what can be done better in the next time. And M&E is important because then we depend on funders to a large extent as we speak. So if you don't do a good job or you do a good job, that determines your next step or your next gap into the next funding you might be getting. So it's a very key component in rolling out your projects.
Great, thank you so much. So to Safo, how can stakeholders support GAICA?
One of the ways, I think, as a matter of fact, let me even start it this way. Everyone here is a stakeholder, whether you are sitting here in any of the panel seats or you are over there. Everyone is a stakeholder. Everybody has a stake in climate action, especially even talking about this document. And so whether you have resources in form of finances, you are able to support, whether you have the manpower, you are able to support, whether you have the technical know-how, you are able to support. So I think one of the ways we ought to support GAICA would be to know what the document entails, know where your strength can support, because taking a casual look at it again, I'm realizing that it's comprehensively done with a lot of project ideas. So you just see it and you're like, okay, I can do this one. I can support this one. I have technical know-how that I can use to buttress this particular project idea. So that's what I think every stakeholder can do in a general sense to support GAICA. Yeah.
Great. This is very commendable. As we are concluding, Noah, how do we get access to this manual, if I'm permitted to call it a manual?
That's right. So first of all, we want to also use the opportunity to commend IOM for also sponsoring the printing of the GAICA. And at the moment, like I said, as we've finished it, it was one of the main things is also a key form of validation. So we're doing more 15 days validation after here. So it will be sent to all the partners once again, to make necessary inputs. Perhaps there are new projects that are coming up that they want to put inside. So all of that will be done. Then after that, we will also make more copies available. We are looking to also go on the dissemination process across all the 16 regions. And because this was developed with youth organizations from all the 16 regions, we are going to be holding some small mini consultations or opening of the GAICA, and then so that all the other organizations there can have it. It's also going to be there's going to be a dedicated site for that, so we can have access to it as well. There are different content ways we also want to go about it, so that people, because sometimes people find it difficult to read a voluminous document. So we are looking to make it more media friendly so that young folks and other people can also enjoy it as well. So right after the 15 days validation, it will be rolled out and then dissemination here.
Right, thank you so much. Let's give it up for them. So we can have a group photo and get ready for our next session. And then, of course, I know everyone wants to eat, so after this, we will have our next panel discussion and we have lunch afterwards. Give it up for them, please. Great, thank you so much to the GAICA team. We're going to have another panel discussion, and you can look up there. Some of our panelists, I think you should return. Ella, Safo, Nathan. You should just take your seats and we quickly move on to the next session. Review. Can we all be upstanding? Yes, time for us to stretch a bit. We've been sitting for 2 hours plus. So we're going to have a very short exercise, and it's going to be like a challenge between this section and that section. Okay? So we're going to have just 3 syllables that you say after me. So it's li, la, lu. So everyone, let's go. Li, la, lu. So these people will start, this section is going to start li, and the next is la, and the other one is lu. Whoever goes off, whichever section goes off or misses the syllable, we are all going to say ooh to the person, all right? So we start. Li. You guys are so brilliant. No one got it. All right, great. So let's move on to the next session. And with this, if you have questions, just start jotting them, because we are going to have a speed test right now. So we're going to have discussing youth leadership, because this is all about the youth, how to have the blueprint for Ghana's national climate change policy, our NDCs, and all of the ways to achieve the SDGs. So we have the youth leadership in climate action, and it's about bridging innovation and implementation. We already have our lady here, which is in a person of Emanuela, and she is from the Youth Climate Council Ghana, YCC. We also have Safo Dankwa, who is also the lead adaptation officer from SYND, as well as Nathan from YOTA. I have the singular honor of inviting Dr. Prince Ansah from the CDKN to join this conversation. Please give it up for him until he gets here. We also have Mr. Kasim Hussein, who's also an officer working on the UNFCCC. Is he here, Kasim? Is Kasim here? No? Okay. So I'm going to give the microphone to our moderator, Ms. Monica Tampuri. She is the Executive Director of Banyani, which is one of the partners who have brought you all here. So please give it up for her. She's going to lead this session, and as usual, I'm going to take questions and answers.
Review. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on youth leadership in climate action, bridging innovation and implementation. I'll give our panelists each 1 minute, because we are running on time, to just do a brief introduction of yourselves and the organization. I know most of us already know what you do, but it would be nice for you to just give a brief description of what you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name once again is Nathan Analem. I work with Youth Opportunity and Transformation in Africa, for short, YOTA. We're a youth-serving organization. YOTA is a youth-serving organization. And again, we like to say that we are the nexus between policy and advocacy. So a lot of the work that we do is centered on youth development, youth capacity building, trying to create an ecosystem where young people can function, and also to be in an area where we can use evidence to challenge governance decisions and policy design to make sure that they meet the needs of young people. So basically, that's what we stand for. My role at YOTA is program manager, where I support a number of the youth development initiatives that we do. One of them is the Africa Youth Partnership on climate change, which is what supports up to 6 African countries in climate advocacy, youth leadership in climate advocacy, which is why the LCOI, for example, is one of the things that interests us a lot, because that's where we begin to ensure that all the decision-making processes, youth are mainstreamed in that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
Okay, so I'll take the turn for my introduction. My name is Safo Dankwa. I work with the Strategic Youth Network for Development, a youth-oriented NGO, environmental NGO that focuses on increasing youth inclusion in the governance of our natural resources and environmental governance. So basically, we want to also push for policy advocacy, ensuring youth inclusion over there, and also engaging young people as a community, so that in informing policy, you can provide evidence. My role at SYND is to provide program and project support to most of the projects that we do, including climate change, energy, biodiversity, and whatnot. In my own capacity, I am a sustainability educator. I am not the adaptation officer at SYND, but rather I am a youth adaptation leader. So that's in my own capacity as well. So just wanted to put that one out so that we are aware of what I do exactly. Thank you very much.
Okay. My name is Emanuela Manchaya Kalari. I work with the Youth Climate Council and the Youth Bridge Foundation. And earlier, I think you heard Dr. Entry talk about the Youth Climate Council, and is to ensure that the youth have a unified front when it comes to climate change. And even before I continue, what the Youth Climate Council has done for this conference is that we've brought young people, one each from the 16 regions, to be represented here. So if you could just wave if you're one of them. Exactly. Yes, and we want to ensure that young people's voices are represented in key discussions. And regarding my role, I am the Research and Policy Officer at the Youth Climate Council. because it's sometimes not just talk. You need to prove, you need to have the data to back the talk. So it's a key component at the Youth Climate Council. At the Youth Bridge Foundation, I am the Climate Change and Health Officer, because climate change, and later I think we'll be talking about that, has an intersection with health. And so we want to be able to explore all the other sectors that come with climate change. And maybe I should just leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Prince. I'm the country manager for CDKN, which is a Climate and Development Knowledge Network, which is part of an institution called South-South North. What we do is basically what we call knowledge brokering. What it means is that how do we take climate knowledge, climate evidence into action? What are the processes? So there are three things that we do with guys at work. One is to mobilize the evidence by collaborating with research institutions and research, organizations. And two is to disseminate, creative ways of disseminating it. So we design games, we work with media houses, we use virtual reality, we work producing songs, collaborating with creatives, name it, any type of ways of communication, we try to use it to disseminate climate information. Some of you would go out there, you see our decks there where we've designed a couple of games that you can play as young people just to understand climate change in itself. And the last thing is we build capacity for people to use climate information. There's one thing to know the information, another thing to use it. So we build your capacity, especially young people, even though we work with businesses, we work with policymakers, but one of our core audiences are young people. So we build your capacity to be able to use that information for business, whether for entrepreneurship, for community action, for whichever climate action goal that you want to achieve. So I'm sure we'll talk more about our work in the coming session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prince. I think since the mic is with you, I would start with you. So, Prince, how do we ensure youth climate leadership is built into national and subnational governance systems, not as a side project, but as a standard?
Okay, so in the first place, we need to understand why even young people must be involved in climate action in itself, or even development in general. Why? Because young people often have new ideas, they live in new generation. The future also belongs to young people. So therefore, if you are planning something that is long-term, it has to involve those that it's about in the next few years. So that is why young people must be involved in any future policy, any policy-related issues in itself. And also, again, young people have the capacity to be able to use emerging technologies and then apply them for solutions. Specifically in terms of young people participation in processes, I think this is very important because mostly those of you who are familiar with Roger Hart's level of participation, where mostly we have the non-participation, which has to do with manipulation and tokenism and the rest, where young people are just brought in the room just to say something, but decisions are not taken. Or young people are just, they come into the room, all right, their voices are heard, but it's not taken anywhere. I think we have to move from that non-participation type of action to more participation, where young people are involved in the decision-making and young people are involved in the implementation of those decisions. And I think these are some of the things that especially policymakers need to take into consideration, that the fact that we've invited PRESEC to be part of this event doesn't mean that we are going to hear them or we are going to take their decisions into play. But we have to move beyond that, where whatever young people, wherever they are, say, we factor that into the policy planning, not just at every level, whether at the national level discussions or right at the grassroots level, so that it's not just a matter of bringing them to actually tick a box. And I think that is part of the conversation that needs to be had. In our work at CDKN, what we do is we try to train young people on the skills to particularly be part of this process at the grassroots level. So we've partnered with organizations like GAIO to do the Negotiators Fellowship, which is not just about negotiating at COP, but how do you develop the negotiation skills to actively participate at the grassroots level for your decisions and your thoughts to actually penetrate into implementation. So these are some of the things.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Building on your points about governance systems, I'd like to ask, how can youth-led solutions be integrated into formal climate risk assessment or resilience plans?
Okay, building on that, especially with the work we do where evidence is the core part of our work, risk assessment has to do with evidence. And when we are able to properly map out the evidence that it's on the ground on the various risks, not just at the only national level, but at the various local level, build capacity for young people to participate even in the risk assessment, and then during the participation in the risk assessment, the solutions that is needed to address those risks should also be taken into factor into. So, can you hear me? All right. So not just involvement in the risk assessment, but the solutions to address the risk assessment should also involve these young people. Now, the first thing that could be done is that how do we match young innovations or young people leading innovations to those risk factors or that has been identified in communities or at the grassroots level. And that is so that it's not just that innovation is young people come up with different innovation and they don't have any policy directions to address that through or specific risk targets that their innovations are addressing. And it could be done vice versa, where we identify the risk at the various local levels, and we encourage young people to come up with innovations that would address those specific risks. And those are some of the actions that could be taken in to address some of these things.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would move to Ella. Ella, how can youth leadership address the blind spots between climate, health, and inequality in implementation?
Okay. There's a key intersectionality between climate, inequality, and then health. But we have these conversations. We have climate conversation in isolation. We have health conversations in isolation. For instance, in a conference like this is climate change. We don't have health personnel here. And that is where the change should start. We should be able to bring in all the other people who are relevant to conversations. And then the health from the climate change should be seen as a multiple threat to health and inequality, because health implementation has a lot to do with how our environment is being looked at. So we should, as young people, look at that intersectionality first, and then we can put on the mechanisms that can have these conversations on. So we go to the health ministry and we say that this is what climate change can do to our health systems. We go to the migration and we say that this is climate-induced migration. How can we have conversations around it? I think that we should also have desks within health institutions that address climate change, and then vice versa in the climate change institutions. And how gender mainstreaming was treated. We just sort of spoke about gender, and then we mainstreamed it in a way that holds different pillars within the climate change spectrum. And that way, young people are able to talk about conversations in a way that brings solutions. And Dr. Prince has spoken about innovations. What kind of innovation can address climate change, can address health, can address inequality at the same time without leaving one behind? And that, I think that when we start having these conversations, we can have a way forward.
Well, thank you. I really relate with you when it comes to climate change and health, because currently we're working on a project around that, and this is something that has really been sidelined. It hasn't really been taken critically. So building on what you said, what does it mean for your youth to be knowledge brokers between research researchers, institutions, and local communities?
I think youth are the best translators of data and knowledge, and youth are able to translate what data says to the communities, and they're able to translate what communities have to say to institutions, so a vice versa sort of situations. And I think we are able to do that because we are in a system or in a world that allows us to have a lot of access to information, and we are ready to be educated, we are ready to learn, we are ready to listen. And so we have data, we have the research, and so we are able to go to institutions and say that this is what the data says, what can we do about it? And then, are you ready to work on it? Can we go to whichever community that is affected by whichever situation and translate it in a way that they understand? I also think that one of the key things that has been established here is that we have different categories of youth, and we are the ones who are in the room here right now. There is a section of youth who are out there who also need to be in the climate conversation. The youth in this room have the capacity to be able to go out there, speak the languages they speak, and in whichever form they would understand, and to explain to them what it means. Dr. Prince mentioned some games, some forms in which they are able to discuss or disseminate knowledge, and I think that we're able to understand these things in a fun way, in a serious way, and in a way that brings real impact. So youth, I say, are a good translators of data on both ends.
Thank you very much, Ella. So I would move to Safo. So Safo, adaptation requires deep community trust. How can youth leaders build legitimacy to lead adaptation in vulnerable spaces?
Forgive me, she just said something and then it just clicked, so I just wanted to write it.
I see that.
For those of you who are not writing me, I'm just getting my information here. When we talk about adaptation, I think I'll do what my betters also. So adaptation, action, reforming, all that, it's the responsibility, I believe, stays on us to make it this job savvy, that there are opportunities, a myriad of opportunities. And I see GICA doing that. I see the adaptation strategy that Dr. Inchi also spoke about doing that, because there are a myriad of job opportunities. If you are here and you think that because you are a science buff and that is the only thing you like, please, you are a human being. Human beings are not straitjacket entities. You are 360 degrees, you are multifaceted. All you need to do is to ensure that you've gained the skill so that you'll be able to make yourself relevant in any field you find yourself in. Because now I can say that we've entered into the AI stage. Yesterday, I was just going through a friend's hard disk and I realized that it clicked my mind, because the movie I saw on her hard disk was iRobot. I don't know if you heard of iRobots before. Good. It was in 2004. Will Smith acted that, and the whole story was on AI in 2032. We are in 2025. I want you to come to reality. They knew what they were doing. What they were doing was that they were prepping and conditioning our minds. But I remember a lot of old people were like, "What do we crowded? We don't need toys, all this." But then it's here with us. Robots are being built to do things that human beings are supposed to do. So please, we better level up or else we'll be left behind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I come to Nathan, my friend I haven't seen before. So Nathan, how do we redefine scaling impact in a way that honors grassroots-led youth solutions rather than donor blueprints?
That's a good question. But the reality is that we need to exist in the ecosystem. That's the reality. Sapo is just talking about AI and that era that we are all in. And if you think that it's something that you cannot do, you are most likely to be left behind. So in the context of the question that you've asked, I don't know how many of you here, I'll be a bit more practical here. How many of you here understand what the L-Core is all about? It's interesting that there's no hand up, or it's because you are receiving your snacks.
Yeah.
Hands are busy, right? The reason I asked that question is that when we talk about grassroots participation, especially for climate justice and climate advocacy, this is where it starts. This is the base for that approach, grassroots participation. In fact, consultation should have happened in communities across the 16 regions. Indigenous people's opinions should have been factored into the discussions or those consultations. Marginalized groups, women, children, persons living with disability, all infused into those consultations. And then here at the LCOI, what we call the local conferences of youth, young people get a chance to put their input. So I'm happy I'm seeing my brothers from PRESEC, and then other like-minded young people and youth-led organizations. This is where we put our input. Now, this input is what is consolidated into what we call the National Youth Statements. And these National Youth Statements become reflective of our opinions or our expectations or our demands as young people into the participation process. It doesn't end there. There is another layer above the LCOIs, which is the RCOIs. The RCOIs is the Africa level, where what we have decided today that has become part of that National Youth Statement is contributing to Africa lens, young people's perceptions, young people's demands, young people's expectations are then fused into that RCOI. Unfortunately, this year we are not having an RCOI because of setting quote and unquote youth politics and all of that, right? And the fact that we haven't gotten it right yet. Then it goes on to COI, which is the Conference of Youth. At the global level, it usually precedes the COP that happens, that will be happening in Brazil. For all these demands to be infused into one document, to be reflective of our opinions. Now, if all of these, the reason I've gone through all these layers, if this is not happening, it is not meaningful participation in the climate space. It is not reflective enough of that level of participation that we want to see or that is desired. That doesn't mean that it is wrong. It just means that there is a lot of work to do as stakeholders to be able to realize this ideal scenario that allows for African youth or young people in Ghana to have their voices represented. I'll give you an example. When you want to connect this then to policy, you get to the policy door and it's almost as if the information you are putting together is scattered. It's not consolidated. So you even send it forward and you have other youth-led organizations saying, I don't think I agree with this. It is not synergized. It is not unified. It is not collaborative enough for us to be able to drive policy. And that's where we have that shortfall. That's where we have the gap when it comes to participation. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And connected to that, how do we challenge the idea that youth-led projects must prove themselves more than others to get funding?
The truth of the matter is that we have to prove ourselves as young people. There is already a cultural element to being young. How many of you are from the northern part of Ghana? How many people? Let me see by hands. And there are some outside. I was trained in the northern part of Ghana that before you speak to your elder, you either genuflect or you have your hands behind your back so that it shows respect, right? There's nothing wrong with it. I did it and I'm happy to do it. But it already puts you in a position where you have lost a little bit of your bargaining power, because you assume that the one who is there, whatever they say is the right thing, and you have to conform to it. It's the same thing in the youth participation space. But the only way you can earn that trust is to be able to still do that and make a point when you get the chance to open your mouth. So for example, they say, there's an Akan proverb about if you wash your hands well, you eat with kings, right? When COVID struck, how many of us realized we were not washing our hands properly? How many? We had to have a whole IEC that was teaching us how to wash hands again. I now realize that the way I was washing my hands was not the best, washing in between your fingers and all of that. So how do you tell a young person that he can eat with kings if he cannot wash his hands well? right? Practically, we don't even know how to wash our hands properly. So it's a capacity thing. We need to be able to build young people's capacity to build and access funds. So if you know how to package what you sell as a young person, then you get the funding. But the thing with that, it is so leveled up to the extent that if you're not washing your hands well, then you cannot access those funds. So for me, it's a capacity thing. Youth-led organizations need to learn where the funds are. They need to learn how to package their ideas. They also need to learn how to send them to people to reflect on them, meeting deadlines, following the basic principles of applying for funding, and all of those type of things. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to our panelists. Due to time, I think we'll be able to take just 2 questions. Just 2 questions.
Okay, so I have one lady there.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm Bernard Ayaba, a level 300 student from this business school. I must say this program has informed in me certain things I never knew of. This business school came up with a policy that says post rights. Every year we have politicians, student politics, posting stickers, flyers, and everything around. So a group of boys, we came around to start up a firm which will prevent them from using stickers, but use an alternative way. I never knew it is environmentally helpful until I came here today. So thank you very much. You've been very great to me. Now, how do I access the funds? Where do I go to? Because I'm a finance student, trying to apply what has been taught in class, it's like it's not working. But learning what has been taught here today, I've seen accidentally, I've just stumbled into a pool of knowledge or, some kind of opportunity I was blind of. Meanwhile, it is very helpful. So thank you very much. How do I access the funds in helping my startup, come into light?
Good. So I'm glad you've been able to get something from that. So for funding is a very competitive space. Even for established organizations, come really difficult to access. So for youth-led organizations, I think first and foremost, you need to know how to sell your vision. There's something we call business development, and business development is storytelling, how you're telling what you're going to use the money for. So you need to understand how you package that, the art of writing. And by writing, I don't mean writing a whole long paragraph. But if you had a chance to meet someone who had $1 million and wanted to give you maybe 10,000 of it, what 3 things would you say to that person to make him convinced that if he gave you that money, you would use it well? So the art of storytelling. There's also the track record. And a track record, if you build a track record, it means that what have you done in the past to demonstrate that if I gave you more money, you could scale. It doesn't necessarily have to be something big. It has to be something that shows that you've been entrusted. That's stewardship. They've given you something, you've been able to use that money well, and so you can scale. And then the third thing that I would say is that you need to be very accountable. One of the things as young people we fail to do is to build trust. There's that issue of accountability. They give you money and you buy the next car instead of doing the project that you're supposed to use it for. So you need to be very accountable, and that traceability is there to what you've used it for. And if you do these 3 things, and you do it consistently, you unlock more opportunities to access funding.
Right. I'm Samuel, a council member at the YCC and also the founder for XTech Agricultural Services. At our side, we do more of cultivation, but aside what we do, we also partner with a whole lot of smallholder farmers who are at the remote areas where getting access to them is very difficult. And when Mr. Safo was talking, he made mention of partnerships. So we are at the grassroots, we are with the people. We visit them at the grassroots where most of be able to, go there. Right now, we have about 372 farmers that we've trained in climate adaptive approach, how to make their farming practices become more sustainable. And so we've gathered that training in two regions, central region and then western region, where they are facing this major challenge in Galamsey activities. So I would want to find out, is there any channel of partnership between these big organizations like SYND, YCC, and other anchored partners for this particular program? How is there any partnership so that we can keep on this activity running? Because we are with them at the grassroots, and we hear their problem. Right now, one of the problems that
Thank you so much. So Safo will take that question.
Okay, right,
Yes,
that's
thank you. And we'll take a last question. Please pass it to the lady behind. She's in blue. Please limit your questions to just your name, institution, and just the question, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Wilhelmina, and I'm with Reform Initiatives. So my question goes, given that our health systems are already quite fragile and public knowledge and participation in climate change issues are still very limited, how do you envision bridging this gap between climate change and health in a practical and sustainable way? Thank you.
So we had the first question talking about partnerships. I know all of you work with other grassroots. So one person answered about how they can access partnership or get to be accessible with you. And the last question is about bridging the gap between climate change and health. Okay, yeah. Ghana's health system is almost in shambles. So yes, we'll do this quickly. One on partnership, how do they access you? And secondly, about climate change and health. So yeah.
How do you access SYND? Okay. So I think since I'm here, some of my colleagues are also here. Justina, Gloria, we are here. You can speak to us after the panel as a means to see how we can take a step to partnership. He wants to.
Okay. Just give him a. So at YOTA, if you go to our website, we have something we call the Voices of Youth Coalition, and this is a grassroots level. I think we have some of our participants actually here. There's a directorate, you can easily apply to it. We would have you as part of the youth groups that are in our network, and if we needed to come into your community and do some work, we would find that in the database simply. So go to our YOTA website and you would find that, yeah.
Okay, I think I'll also start from partnerships. I think one of the biggest way is social media now. All of the organizations are on social media. It's very easy to reach out, and then conversations can take off from there. I also wanted to touch on the funding, because usually when we say funding, we are talking about just the money, but it's not always about the money. There are people with the expertise. There are people who are already working in the space that you want to work in. So you can reach out and say, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. How can I get on board with you? And then you can start from there. Because as startup, as you mentioned, even for established organizations, it's quite difficult getting funding lately. So you have to start somewhere, and it might be to collaborate with other organizations to begin with, and then you can move on from there. Climate change and health, as I said, we treat them differently, but climate change is a multiplier of health conditions. And I had mentioned that we need to start having the conversations, because even in a room like this, we don't have health personnel here. So how do we even communicate what needs to be communicated to them? So maybe as youth organizations, we can start having conversations at the higher levels. How do we incorporate this into the health system, and vice versa? How do we create decks? How do we relate some of these illnesses, which are clearly climate related, diseases or illness, and then say that this is as a result of climate change, and this is how we can come on board and help. So thank you for bringing that up. JICA can pick this up in our earlier conversations, as mentioned, and we can run with it. But beyond that, we are young people with voices and with a large platform called social media, and so we are able to start from there, one post, one video, and then before we know it, this is a solved issue. I don't think the Ghana health system is in shambles, as she said. Those were your words, yes. Yes, do we have problems? Yes, but will we fix it as young people? I say yes to that as well.
Okay, great. So partnerships, always don't look at partnerships from like the big organizations or established organizations. You can build partnership with organizations at your same level to be able to actually multiply your efforts, right? So look at it from that front. The last thing I want to say generally when I was talking about the participation is that when we have the first panel, we potentially consider them as experienced and adults, right? And after the panel, they all left. Okay. All right, can you hear me? This on my heart. After the panel, they all left, right? That is not active participation. So one of the things I will encourage organizers to do is to put their panel at the end so that they stay to listen to what young people have to say. You understand? So these are all part of it. So please, organizers, please next time, create it in a way that the people that we are looking up to, the organizations that have influence, that lead the processes, would stay and listen to what the young people have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much to our panel. That's very insightful, and we are grateful. But as we close, one clear message stands out. Youth are not just advocates. They are implementers, innovators, and system builders, shaping Ghana's resilience today. So we are very grateful for having you. I believe after the session, during the break, we would have some of our participants reach out to you to ask further questions. Thank you very much.
Yes, give it up for them. Can we have a group photo? And as they have the photo, I'll just officially call this, you have your snacks already. I'll call this a very short networking and lunch break. Feel free to connect with other people. If you have more questions, you could still write them down. We have more sessions coming up. And, you know, people were asking about innovation. What are people doing? Talking about jobs and fixing the climate crisis. People are coming up with innovation. For example, in Europe, especially in Germany, you have the EVs running. This is what the technocrats are doing. Back home, what are we also doing? We have some people who have taken, you know, the initiative to create wealth from waste. People have started their grassroots organizations. People are doing amazing things. And this is an example of a reusable cup, which is made with coffee grounds and wood scraps. So this is a cup. Instead of the plastic, this is a cup that you can always use, but this is from organic materials. And this is even designed in Germany. If you want some, you could go outside. If you are here also, we have some people who have community-centered solutions. That is going to be after our lunch break. So what you're going to do right now is enjoy your snacks. You can network and come back. You can stay here, of course, but we'll resume our session in the next 12 minutes. 12 minutes, 1, 2, 12. So you can network, go have some, watch the exhibition, get what you want to do, and then come back in the next 12 minutes. You can also stay and network with people and have your lunch here. Can we please start settling in? Jovial, if you can hear me, please come up stage. Ashes, please let everyone come in. Let's get ready for our next session quickly so we can all go home early, please. Okay, we are getting ready. Lunch is over. Lunch is over. We have our next session. This morning, we all heard about what ELCOR is about, the NDCs, all the complex talks, and we brought it down to what the youth are doing, like the GAICA manual. And the last one that we just had was concerning what the youth can do in terms of innovation and implementation. Now let's move to the next one, where we have the practical solutions, community-centered solutions. Like I said earlier, people are designing stuff. There was one student from Presec asking, I mean, we are talking a lot, so what are we designing, what are we doing? People here are also doing stuff, innovative stuff. And I want us today to get inspired by Ghanaians who are turning waste into wealth. So let's get settled and then we start soon. We can come outside our phone network. Just come inside, take a seat. Are you doing it? Those of us outside, could you please come in? Now, our next session is going to delve deeper into applying these mechanisms, solutions, ideas. So we'll have the community-centered solution where indigenous knowledge meets waste to wealth.
For this room. We are the heartbeat of Africa's tomorrow. Yet, some of the young people are being drafted around the writing on invisible ink. I really want to have myself have a stand, but the stance of the thoughts of the standards of the standards are holding me back. I really want to fall, but no, I'm being held. This is not poetry. This is prophecy. Yet, if prophecies are being left behind, it becomes punishment. And the punishment that comes from prophecies are so here that you have to really your great else your great becomes great, and great without great is when you are taking a step that has no step forward. This is Ghana, a land of cocoa. Now so they come put in cocoa, a land that has Ghana and big sounds of paper. Yes, these sounds of wisdom, which are not with Kente, no Sunyan Sabakra Baba being China support. Yes, I am Sani Kofa, no Sunyan Kofa, no Baba Yadeswa, into sincere. Adesua, please, where are you? I really need to find you because even if I look to my right and my left, I never see any force. I've really been told that the world of stone all has gold, but the ornaments I wear are wearing and tearing just like the tears that fall from my eyes. I feel found myself in a space where having to take a step. You need your ancestors to back you up now, so you're sitting into then please, I need some blood. So if you can give me a donation, I'll be very happy. I found myself standing. They say democracy is all we have, but I also know about autocracy. And democracy without water is like dictatorship of taste. So I tell you what is democracy if I don't have my peace. Tell me what is democracy when my peace has now become pieces. Tell me what is democracy when my pieces now have to be split. And even when pieces have not become pieces, that in the pieces of the pieces are not each. Just as I stand, I really want to find my feet, but I want to go for a country. Oh, I mean, right. And in the state where we find ourselves standing, I really want to tell you, arise, all Ghana youth, and clap for your country. And I love the way you are sitting because you are not proud of your country. If you surrender yourself, arise daily for your country, and make your country get a frog. Born to love your country forever, and know that we are all involved. And so with a loud clap, who says it's a testimony of being an agent of peace, an agent of change, and wanting to conquer the world. Clap for a Ghana, the world. My name is Gabriel. Peace out.
Jovial is always sensational. She always speaks to our soul. Yes, now it's time for us to get the community-centered solutions. Shall we welcome Ms. Justina Amwa, who is the National Coordinator of the Youth NREG at the Strategic Youth Network for Development, SYND. Keep clapping until she gets here. She's going to introduce us to our panelists, our change makers. So you're in for a ride. I hope you enjoyed this section.
Hi, everyone. Review.
We do it. Review.
Okay, review. All right.
Review.
All right, thank you very much. So on the panel, we have 3 amazing experts who will be on my panel today. And I am pretty sure and I believe that you are going to love the wealth of information that they are going to share. So whether in the hands of scrap dealers, innovators, or recyclers, the real question is, and let's think about it and ponder over it. How do we transform this crisis into opportunity while preserving the wisdom and resilience of the very communities that have managed it for generations? And that is what we are here to explore for today's panel. So before I go in straight to our panelists, I'd like them to briefly tell them about themselves, their work, and then what does waste to wealth mean to you? So let's take Doctor, and then we'll move in straight to Makafui.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to my dear sister. It's been a while. I am Samson Etiemo. Bred in a village that is not yet on Google Maps, but in Ghana here. So I'm waiting for the innovators to put my village, Sukuna Wenfi, on Google Maps so that it will be easier for people when they are traveling there. It's in this eastern region, but very remote. My organization is Mountain Research Institute. We are consulting, training, and research firm. We are fully Ghanaian company, founded by Ghanaians, And I am the co-founder together with my partner who could not be here. Mountain Research Institute's main focus is end of life. So you can call us the mortuary of everything you use. Just look around this room, all the technology that is powering this conference, all the gadgets we are using, one day they come to end of life. And we don't put them in our policy considerations. We come here, we think of adaptation, but we don't think about the waste that arises from these so-called adaptations. We are promoting electric vehicles. What about the lithium-ion batteries that are used in these vehicles? What about unrecyclable plastics that are in these vehicles? This is the headache and the thinking of Mountain Research Institute. And for us, waste is called secondary resource for development. If you neglect it, you are endangering your own future. And we'll go more into it as the session develops. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's listen to Cordy on that.
Thank you. So my name is Cordy Aziz Nash. I run Environment 360, and we do several things, but mainly we specialize in green support for entrepreneurs, as well as technical and capacity building. At our green complex, which is located at Dodowa, we are focused on creating low-cost and no-cost technologies that are able to quickly be adapted by rural and urban areas to support circular economy strategies. We also develop a variety of plastic collection models that we test and then share the information and then operation with to better help improve the system of plastic collection within the West African region. So we're very happy to be here today and share our lessons that we have as far as decentralizing recycling, which we think is a priority if we really want to speed up the progress in green economy and really creating inclusive training spaces that are practical and also focused on women, youth, and persons with disabilities.
Thank you very much. Please, let's give it up briefly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Makafui Auku. Me, I'm a baller man. Some of you may have seen somebody using pure water rubber to do scroll decks and roofing tiles on social media. So that is my work. Some of you may have seen giant bottle receptacles used to collect plastic waste. That's also one of my products. Some of you may have seen bottle Christmas trees somewhere in town in the last 7-8 years. That's also some of my work. So we contribute to national policy on waste management. I've traveled to Liberia, Nigeria, and I've trained between Ghana and these other two countries, 15,000 young people in the last 6-7 years in circular economy models. We've developed curriculums where we designed business models. Then we've transferred that knowledge to underprivileged women, including Kayaye women or those we called head porters, where some of them have been trained in various environmental sustainability and circular economy business models. Environment 360 and Cordy has been a partner on that. The girls have been to her end to learn a lot about the work they do. Yesterday, I was in Afienya, where we went to commission the first ever computer lab with the furniture made from recycled pure water sachet waste, 100%. An indigenous Ghanaian, finally. So when we say waste, but we have different kinds of waste. So we have food waste, we have construction waste, we have hazardous waste, we have liquid waste, we have solid waste, we have metal, we have e-waste. So the range of waste materials is very broad. I'm sharing that so that if you are thinking about creating value from waste, you want to do something that you know that it's a very broad range, and then you can also work in an area where you have interest. So I'm excited to be here this afternoon. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's just zoom in straight to the questions. Today's theme is on community-centered solutions. So that means that we are looking at how indigenous knowledge, can meet their work within the communities or the communities they find themselves. So since the microphone is with Makafui, I'll just go in straight to him. In transforming plastics into desks and roofing sheets, role has local cultural knowledge played in influencing design, usability, or acceptance of your products. And we see them beautifully done at our bus stops, even when you go to exhibitions, we see your products. How has that been?
Okay, thank you. So what role has local knowledge played in influencing the design and usability? So a couple of things. The dexes we have in schools are wooden dexes. And now that we are trying to transition, the president said in June that we should transition from wooden dexes to dexes from recycled boards. About my work. So one, the designs have to, first it has to be similar to what is already in the schools. They are standards, so you have to find out what the standards are, and when you are designing the products, you have to do your best. It's difficult because unlike wood where they just cut a tree and then you can cut the logs in a certain way to create whatever you want. The recycled materials are not quite, or they don't come around quite with that flexibility and freedom when it comes to creation. So a lot of thinking has to go into designing the products in a way that when you are trying to meet that standard, they are still beautiful, and then they are relevant and useful enough, and they are strong also. The event, when you open the bin, you still see all things in the bin. But when you look in the space, you see that almost everybody there is in the bin. But when you look in the space, you see that almost everybody there is very educated. So why are they not doing the right thing? So this is a big challenge. So you can say, so even if the educated people cannot do the right thing, then there's no hope. You could have said that. But for some of us, those are the kind of challenges we live for. So I was asking myself, okay, how can I get people to do what they are supposed to do? Because when the waste is contaminated, it becomes expensive to work with. When the raw material is expensive to work with, then the pricing of the product becomes problematic. Wooden dexes are like 400 cedis thereabouts. So if I'm making dexes from pure water rubber and then they come contaminated and I have to spend a lot of money to sanitize it before I use it, how much am I going to sell the product? So that creates a dilemma and a challenge for me. So I made these giant bottles for recovering pure water sachet and bottles because they have recycling value, because I don't want them to become contaminated, because it becomes expensive for me to work with it. But the bottles are transparent. What that means is that everybody can see what is inside the bottle. Why? I realize that in Ghana, if you tell people there's a camera in this room, it changes the way they behave, because they feel somebody's watching them. So instead of creating containers that are not transparent, I created something that is very transparent, so that if you are putting the wrong thing in it, even though there's a label, you are afraid somebody will confront you. So it encourages you to do the right thing. So this is how we can take behavior and culture and then use it in the design thinking process to create a sustainable solution. As I speak to you, we have more than 350 of my receptacles in 5 major regions in Ghana. And the usability rate and the effectiveness of it is about 99.9%. People hardly put anything else in it apart from the pure water rubber and the bottles, because they are transparent. It makes sense for a lot of people. It is fun to use. So these are some of the issues, and these are some of the ways we use innovation, design thinking, and then understanding behavior to model sustainable solutions around them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Makafui. Let's go to Kodi Aziz. So Kodi, you have trained hundreds of youths through your Circular Innovation Hub. From your experience, how does indigenous knowledge shape real capacity building in communities, and what mistakes do young people make when they ignore it?
So there's, I think, a few things that you have to talk about. Environment 360 has worked in Greater Accra, Kumasi, and now we mainly focus on rural environments. Oftentimes we do work very closely with the traditional council or the chieftaincy of the area as well. And I think when it comes to being able to really access and tap into knowledge, there are just certain cultural norms into account when they are actually doing community strategy and other things. They often see it as very or unnecessary or tribalistic. It doesn't necessarily have a significance, but it does have a significance, and it can absolutely determine how successful your product is and your acceptance is, because oftentimes these individuals that you may overlook are actually going to be the main influencers in a community. And when you are adapting new innovation, you undoubtedly need the pillars in your community to be able to influence the other people. That it's quite important. I think the second thing that we have to discuss, as much as we advocate for gender equality, when you look at Environment 360, it's a woman-led organization. I am one of few women within the waste management space within Accra, and within Ghana in general, and even in waste management globally, women are underrepresented in waste management. And as much, I think, as we know that women are capable, it comes back to cultural and societal norms. There are sometimes different things you need to adhere to, particularly when you're working in more conservative communities such as Muslim communities. It's important that as much as we want to empower women, we don't overlook how their homes work and what their domestic responsibilities are. And I think it's quite important to find male allies and other people that will be able to sort of stand up and sort of champion those men that may be more difficult or may not understand what is happening. There also has to be different training accommodations and other things to make the men of the community feel more comfortable with the training, so they don't feel as if the woman is moving ahead and he is being left behind. Another thing that I think is really critical when you are looking at developing community-led or community-adapted solutions is that it's not owned by one person. I challenge the fact that Africa should be industrialized. I think it sounds great, but when you look at how the West has grown, I think Africa has a very unique opportunity to maintain its culture by development of micro enterprises that can grow quite quickly and be replicated quite quickly. Oftentimes, I'm sure you'll see this in the green space, people want to do everything on the value chain. So I just don't do collection, I do transportation, I do the flaking, I do the processing, I do the final product, I do the delivery of that product. And what happens is that when we are building like this, we know we have challenges with access to finance. It's been mentioned here not only for global fundraising, which is very difficult. Times the financing is not there to build industries. That means that if we aren't careful in the green industrialization that we are currently in, these opportunities will be more owned by foreign entities than local entities. However, if we focus on creating micro enterprises, which has technically been the backbone of the economy of Africa for years, which is why still 70% of Ghana's economy is informal, if we move towards these micro enterprises that allow people to create employment opportunities of 3 to 5 to 7 different people, you will see that this replicates quite quickly, and it creates employment quite quickly, and it creates better social benefits quite quickly. And it also adheres to the working culture that is standard for the African culture. The African culture doesn't work Monday through Sunday from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And I think we have to understand that. And as much as we are implementing the 24-hour economy, we still have to be honest that we have a way to go before we can operate 24 hours. We need stable electricity before that can be considered. We need to make sure that we have enough security so that if people are operating at cash, they're not going to be operated or robbed, and that there's going to be adequate supervision. So as much as the 24-hour economy is definitely very feasible, we need to also understand that these micro enterprises that allow more flexibility, that allow clear pathways for people to turn wealth into high value items locally without a lot of transportation, this is really what's going to be able to unlock the green economy and accelerate it within the African context.
All right, thank you very much. I think, please let's give it up to our panelists. The wealth of information, let's invest in what is ours. Let's go to Doctor. Doc, you have worked with scrap dealers and informal recyclers across Ghana and abroad. What lessons from their indigenous or community logic in waste management do formal institutions often miss?
Thank you very much. And it's true, I've worked with these scrap dealers from across the country and also outside Ghana. There are three things that define them wherever they find themselves. One, waste is wealth. For a scrap dealer, they will throw away only items that they don't find value or the market doesn't take it. That is only when they will throw away. Even that, they will keep it hoping that one day somebody will come. And this is something institutions miss. Because what regulatory or the institutions that make laws in Ghana will consider as waste, a scrap dealer sees it as a resource. And so go to any scrapyard. If you pick an item there, the first question they will ask is, what are you going to use it for? And once they know what you are going to use it for, it becomes a valuable asset to them. It doesn't matter whether they are in Ghana or India, the value is the same. So the student, you students sitting from Presec, when you see a sachet lying on the ground or a television casing lying on your campus, how do you see it? As a waste or as a resource? You think that is waste because water can collect inside the mosquitoes, so we have to carry it and go and throw it away or set fire into it. The scrap dealer sees it as potential avenue for money making, and therefore he will pick it and go and put it at a proper place. What we, the elite, myself, Cordia, and my brother here, what we think is of no use is of value to a scrap dealer. That's the first thing. Second, they are highly networked. Highly networked. Scrap dealers know each other. There's a project my organization is running, and it's called Incentive-Based Collection of Programmatic E-Waste Fractions. And we have collection centers in Agbogbloshie. There's another one in Koforidua, and then another one in Kumasi. A scrap dealer can sit here and call his brother in Wa, and the brother will load the items and bring to him. Over the past 4 or 5 years that we've been implementing this project, there's one particular scrap dealer who has earned over 900,000 Ghana cedis from our project through networking. He doesn't go anywhere, he just makes calls. And these are items that people don't want. What are they? E-waste plastics, batteries that we use in regular torchlights, not the car batteries. Everyday e-waste, that's what we are paying incentives. And this guy has earned over 900,000, one guy, because of networking. And this network led itself today preferring to work more in associations. And so our legal regimes don't recognize that these people prefer to work together, and therefore they must be recognized in any laws that we make. The third one is spirituality and a sense of socialism. You see, they respect themselves in terms of the spiritual hierarchies that exist among them. So if one of them is, let's say, an imam, you see scrap dealers paying attention to the imam. In the Eastern region, for example, we supported the scrap dealers there to form Eastern Region Scrap Dealers Association. And when we formed the association, we created a political structure called Council of Elders. And this Council of Elders was is chaired by the Deputy Regional Chief Imam. And we put other opinion leaders within Eastern Region on that council. And this association I'm talking about in Eastern Region has been one of the best regional scrap dealer associations because of the respect for spirituality. So, just to recap, 3 things. Waste is value to them. Nothing is thrown away. Second, they have highly networked. If you don't respect the network within and among scrap dealers, you cannot work with them. And third, the respect for spirituality and their culture. That is what drives them.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give it up to them. Let's give it up to them. This is a lot of information. In fact, I wanted to add the last one. They are also within communities. Yeah, that's what I want to add, because all my life, mostly the scrap dealers, we don't even respect them, but they have money. They are the ones who, they have the money and are also driving the economy. So please, let's not take waste as nothing. Let's see everything around us as wealth. And let us also take advantage of that. So whilst we are talking about collaboration and networking, let me go to McCaffrey. How can we connect waste innovators across Ghana to form a regenerative ecosystem rather than isolated efforts? Because mostly we see, like a lot of us, Environment 360, you collaborate with them, but we see people doing things in isolation. So how can we come together on the level of collaboration and networking?
Yeah, Cordy started speaking about that earlier, about why it's not prudent to try to do everything in the value chain. It's crucial. If you take every sector, there's a value chain. So first of all, you need to understand what the value chain looks like. What are the different groups and organizations and roles within the chain? And then you look at your competence, your skill sets, your resources, and ask yourself, which components of the value chain can I operate in? Then you also have to identify who can I partner with along that journey. So we're supposed to have also had Chris Jan on the panel. He's from CISA Recycling. So when I started the school there, so within the last 4 months, we had commercialized the school decks project. We already have 200 decks in 7 schools in Greater Accra. We have set up a computer lab. But one of the things that had happened within that period is that the first consignment of pure water sachet waste that we got for the project came from Cordy. We bought it from Cordy. Because one of the things I wanted to do was, and most of us are aware of the challenges waste pickers or women working in the waste sector are facing. They've been in the news a lot recently, that our own governments have been working with private organizations to illegally pay these women below the minimum wage. And these are issues that we need to fix, because these women form more than 60% of the workforce in the sector. So if these women withdraw their service, let's look at how the city looks like currently. You wake up on Monday morning, you are going to work, there's a pile of heaps of rubbish in the middle of the road waiting to be collected. Imagine if all these women withdraw their service. What's going to happen to the city? It's going to be a serious health risk. So we need to make sure that these women are earning very decent wages. So instead of just buying the waste from just anyone, I'm thinking, how can we improve the income and earning of these women? Like Cordy already works with these women, so I'm rather buying from Cordy because I know that most of these women can also benefit from some of that revenue that is going to go to her end. So that's a collaboration right there. Then with CISA Recycling, they do crushing of plastics, and they have equipment at Darkuman. So I don't have a crusher, I don't operate a crusher. It's very loud. And where I operate from, I can't use that equipment. So I buy the waste, I send it to CISA Recycling, they crush it, It comes back to me, then we dry it, we process it, and then we recycle. We recycle it into the roofing tiles and the boards, and then we use it to make the product. So you need to understand what you can do on your own. That makes sense. And you need to understand what is easier and more affordable to let somebody else support you with, especially where they are more skilled, they have the experience, and they have the competence to do that. Because what it does for you is that when you create a solution, you can transfer some of those benefits, especially to the pricing and developing the projects and creating employment for other people. Because immediately you create a product from recycled waste, and this is a global challenge that people say, oh, recycled products are very expensive. So it becomes difficult to sell when they are expensive, because somebody is looking at school decks from wood is 400. So how much am I selling my recycled decks to let people, okay, I'm not going to do wood again, I want to do, it has to be cheap enough, and possibly even cheaper than wooden decks. If it's cheaper than wooden decks, it makes sense for everybody. Everybody likes cheap things, even the rich people. So you have to identify what you can do competently, that you have the resources for. You have to understand the key players in the value chain, the key roles, and then you need to look out for partners whose journey makes sense and align with the direction you're going. And then engage with them and see how you can collaborate with them, because most of the time, by collaboration and partnership, you can achieve a lot more with less, instead of trying to do everything yourself. And then you can transfer some of the benefits so that you can scale up more gradually and sustainably. So that's what I can say. Thank you.
All right. So with collaboration, you can achieve more with less. So whilst you are even here, please try and collaborate with somebody. Maybe probably the person is also working in your sector, or you're also looking at how you can also collaborate with somebody. Just connect with somebody, because you don't know when that person's contact or that person will be useful in your work. So let's go to Kodi Aziz, and then we'll take one last question from Dr. Hatio, and then we would open the floor for people to also ask their question. So Kodi, as we scale recycling and waste to wealth solutions, how can we integrate indigenous community practices to ensure safety, quality product, and low pollution?
So I think the first thing we have to do is really identify what is the critical waste that communities struggle with. As Makafui said, sometimes everybody thinks waste and they think plastic waste, or they think waste and they think organic waste. But there's a wide variety of waste within communities. Some communities, it may actually be wood. Some communities, it may be the unwanted e-waste, as Dr. Atimo was talking about. So the first thing is you really have to understand what is existing there that is really the struggle and is really piling up and becoming the headache for the residents. I think that once you understand that, the next thing, once again, is to really look at where is the gap in the community as far as products and services. So what could this waste particularly be used as? And it's always so interesting to me, because I think we have so much great research on different things that waste could be used for, but it never makes it outside of journals. And it's the most interesting thing to me, because people keep talking about innovation, 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 but it's like someone has literally done a whole case study, has done all the metrics, gives you the basics on how to do it, pressure measurements, everything, and nobody takes it from the journal into practice. And at the Green Complex, this is one of the things that we actually specialize in, is once we know what type of waste you have, we can look at what are already existing strategies that are being used that may be ideal for this community. So for instance, you'll see even at our Green Complex, one of the things we do, if you're not familiar with hyacinth, it is a invasive plant that grows quite quickly. It has taken over the rivers in eastern region as well as some in the central region. And it becomes an issue because when there's too much water hyacinth, it kills any other living thing within the water, because it sucks out all of the water. But there's so many different local for water hyacinth. So you'll see that even one of the products we create at the Green Complex is actually craft paper from water hyacinth, which essentially can be used for jewelry. It can be used for soap sleeves. It can be used for labeling. It can be used for so many different things. And literally all it takes is a blender, a coal pot stove, some cornstarch, and a little bit of heat, right? So these are very easy things that this community could potentially adapt and then start feeding into the market. So I think that it's really critical to really identify that type of waste and then really identify what are potential strategies or use within that waste. Biochar is often something people speak about as well that's highly underutilized, and we haven't really tapped the full potential for within the region, particularly rural areas that are needing clean, that need to regenerate their soil and other things. So I think that once you sort of understand that, once you know how you're processing it, then the next thing is to really make the tools and techniques that people want to use. Oftentimes when we think about innovation, we think that, oh, we can use AI, oh, we can use this really complicated technology that has 15 different buttons. And all of that may look really cool, and it may, you know.
Something based on it with. All right, so please let's start writing down our questions. If you have it already, when we open the floor for questions, we'll take 3 questions, and then after you can see the panelists for, you know, more conversations or more answering of your questions. So let's go to Doc. That's going to be the last question. Do you think it's possible to document and scale these local waste practices without losing the cultural wisdom and adaptability that make them work?
Okay, let me throw a question to our young students from Presec. When was the last time you ate kenke or banku? Kenke or banku? Yesterday. Do you know that there are some foods, if you don't eat them from that design, it's not nice?
Yeah.
For example, you get home and my wife prepares banku in aluminum, this non-stick cookware.
Non-stick.
It's not nice. On the gas stove. But it has to be in that design.
Yeah.
You know, if the banku is in that design, it's very nice.
Very nice.
But you know that Ghana, we are almost self-sufficient in that design production. At least we don't import that design. Who are the people producing that design? The informal sector. You know that design?
Yeah.
Apologies to my friends from Europe, or if you don't know that design, when we close, follow me, I'll go and show you one. So these are knowledge we need to document and improve. These people go around, pick aluminum, do smelting. That could have been done in big industries. These are engineers, but not the engineers from the engineering class in Legon here or somewhere. They are engineers by doing. How many of you, first degree master students, have taken time to study how that design is produced? Yet you go and stand at the market and you are buying banku. Even soup, when you prepare it in a design, it tastes different and it tastes better. Got it? So we have opportunity to actually use this knowledge that existed for long years. I was asking my sister that, why is it that when my mother prepares soup in the village, my mother doesn't know school? He doesn't know school. But she can prepare soup and preserve it for 2 weeks and will be eaten. But you, degree-holding ladies and gentlemen, your soup don't last a day. So there are a lot of knowledge in the system already running among Ghanaians. But our academic systems don't take care of it. When it comes to waste collection and segregation, as they are all alluding to, it is something we've been doing over the years. But we make laws and centralize the law in Accra. And so it doesn't get down to the people. And the law doesn't also take account of the existing knowledge. Recently, my organization is reviewing the legal framework for dadescent production. And you know, these indigenous people pick any metal at all for this dadescent. And so in the end, they introduce contaminants like lead in the dadescent. Read EPA Act, read Standards Authority Act, read FDA Act. There's no mention of it. Because they don't understand that dadescent is an important part of our economy. So they make laws, you read the laws, and it is only meant for big companies. They take the same law and they want to enforce it on the informal sector. It will not work. You don't understand them. So we can do it without affecting the jobs and the incomes of these people. Young ones, those of you who are taking innovation, go back to your father's and grandfather's village. Look at their way of life and start your innovation from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please let's give it up to our panelists. Please let's give it up to them. This is knowledge that we have billion to buy, but it is here. So please let's take note of it and also use it. So let's go and to the audience. Please, we are taking 3 questions. I can see 3 hands already. So please let's take it first. If Emrine can send the mic around, or anyone who is available to, she's here. So let's take the gentleman in green, and then we will take 2 more from the side. Please let's be snappy with our question. No preamble, just go straight.
I'll try my best. My name is Josh Doche, and I'm asking this question in the capacity as a concerned youth mentor. Growing up, when we talk about waste and wealth, I started off from a very young age trying to sell scrap to get money to buy something for myself, even get a football boot to wear. Now I got to a stage where within my society, people saw that I was going to take scrap from somewhere to purchase, get funding to do something. And then they saw me to be from a home that is, kind of affluent. So I was stigmatized. I was called Serenade, so I stopped. Now, I ended up growing up, and then I see another young person who walks up to me and goes like, I've been hearing things about climate change and environment, waste to wealth. I started off by plastic waste on campus, and then try to put them together, try to sell them. But my friends now laugh at me that this is what I do. Now I'm asking myself, what do I tell this young person who wants to solve the issue of climate change, or who wants to do something to support climate action, however, feels as though he's going to be stigmatized, or probably society or his family, immediate family, will look at him and say, your friends are studying law, your friends are doing engineering, why do you want to do something like waste? Thank you.
All right, let's take the 2 more, please. Oh, okay.
Thank you. My name is Mina, and I'm from Reform Initiatives. My question goes, as the moderator mentioned, scrap and waste collectors are often looked down until people realize that they can be financially well off. For instance, Zoomlion. So how can we address this stereotype so that we respect their role, so that it is not tied to the wealth, but to the value of the work they do? Thank you.
All right, so let's take the last one. I think that'll be good. Yeah, let's take the last one.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you that I can be here. I'm Jim. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm currently based in Kumasi doing an internship at Trashmart. And I was very curious about the that you made about micro. What is it? What was the word? Micro enterprises.
Enterprises.
When Ghana would move forward from a lower middle income country and would develop to a higher income country, would you still say that micro enterprises would still be sustainable and feasible, or would you feel like this would not work anymore, that you really have to focus on larger enterprises as well? Thank you.
All right, so I think my panelists can take the 3 questions. I think the first and second look similar, so.
Maybe I'll take one part and then I'll hand over to the rest because they all have lived experiences in this sector. When it comes to stigma, one of the ways to remove it is continuous education and continuous work. I remember Noah is not here. Noah Bugri. Yes. When he first joined Mountain Research Institute, one of the questions I asked him is, your parents have taken you to school. You have gone to university and done master's degree. Why do you want to work on Ebola? Because sometimes at work, you are sitting with big people at the ministries. The next moment, you are in the scrapyard working with scrap dealers. So why do you want to work there? And he said, I want to gain experience in how to work with these people. You know, we cannot take away the wealth that comes from waste, from the value of the work. Today, if Mr. Sian Josbon appears in this room right now, all of us will get up. Somebody wrote a report and I read, it said, money day for Bola. The work that you were young and stopped, today you have seen the value in it. Encourage that young person to continue. Because it's a value chain, like McCaffrey said, from collection all the way to treatment. And in each sector of the chain, there is wealth to be made. You can make money from collection, you can make money even from transportation, transporting the waste from Aziz's facility to McCaffrey's place will make you money. And then you can make money also from the treatment. You can even make money from disposal. And I tell you, I have worked with scrap dealers for almost 20 years. One day I visited a scrap dealer's house in Koforidua. I was dumbfounded. Even me, I haven't built that house. So you be there and say that Ebola work. Those who know the value, they are making something good out of it. God bless.
Let's give it up.
Okay, so I'll also quickly address the stigma, and then I will come to the question about the micro enterprises. I often think that waste is stigmatized because people don't see a clear career path. And the reason you can't see a clear career path is because most of the jobs that we are still focusing on are very low paying jobs like collection, right? But as McCaffrey has said, and Dr. Atimo has mentioned, there is a whole value chain of what is. So someone is a collector, yes, but someone else is the processor. Someone else is making a product. Someone else may even be a broker. So I think that oftentimes because there's not a clear-cut career path and understanding of how you move up through the value chain, right? So if I'm working in an office, I know I can start off at admin and then eventually maybe be made HR. It's very clear to me how to get from A to B. I don't think it is as clear in the waste sector. So a lot of people don't value the opportunity until they perhaps see other people doing something with it or other people that have moved up the value chain. And then that is when they understand the value. So I think that this is one issue with the stigma. We actually did a project last year, Picket 2.0 at Timma Newtown. And one of the interesting findings was that after the project, waste pickers felt more accepted within the community. And it comes back to what Dr. Atimo is saying, when you actually integrate them into the community and you give them an opportunity to be seen and heard with people they traditionally are not seen and heard with, this also brings down a lot of the stigma that is associated with it. So when you see a waste picker at a municipal meeting, or when you see a waste picker at a ceremony, the mayor has shown up, these are key things that really help decrease the stigma, right? When it comes to micro enterprises, I think when it comes to the climate strategy, we have two different strategies that are happening. We have a global strategy, which is very slow and not moving at a pace that's going to change anything on ground. And then you have those people that are on ground that are actually taking action. But as it's been said, you don't get government support and other things to scale up. For me, I think that climate action is an immediate issue. It's something that needs to be taken control of, particularly in rural communities where perhaps the waste situation is not as bad as some of the urban communities. And I think part of allowing that to be able to happen is really look at micro enterprises. Because if we are focusing on creating collection programs and moving everything to Accra, we aren't addressing the issue. It also continues to keep people stuck at the very bottom of the value chain. You'll see one of the things that Environment 360 does with its green entrepreneurship training at its green complex is that after training, we actually have provided 3 business models that starting today after training, you can start making money. So we aren't sending people out to say, hey, go and find your own way in the green economy and take what I've taught you and try to do the best. We're saying, no, here is a business in a box. Here are 3 different ways that starting today, you can interact with your training and start making money from your training today. And I think that this is another niche that's really sort of missing when we look at industrialization, is that we are focusing on a very few people that are able to communicate in a non-local language, that are able to achieve pitch sessions, that are able to get in front of investors. But as mentioned, you have more innovation, you have more circular economy strategies going on in rural communities than you often do in the communities in the city. I'm very sure your mother is probably using charcoal to help preserve this. You see, things that you know when you are older, right? So I think that it's very important that we don't overlook the fact that Accra is not Ghana, that Takoradi is not Ghana, that a majority of the population still lives in rural communities. It's important to understand that when you look at climate issues and a lot of our waste management issues, a lot of them are due to urban migration because there's no jobs in rural communities. So if you want to stop overcrowding in cities, if you want to stop having too much waste in cities, if you want to stop slums that have outbreak of diseases, the idea is to create those opportunities in rural communities via micro enterprises where people aren't just collectors, but they are actually producers of products that that community can easily offtake. So even if nobody else is purchasing, they have the value chain there within their community.
All right, so let's Makafui add up or top up, and then we take the last question.
Okay, so let me tell you about my entrepreneurial journey, and it's to answer the question about what people will say. For you to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to develop a tough skin. You have to not, give a damn about what people are saying, except for feedback that is relevant for progress. So I do a lot of posts on my social media, and I have a lot of people come under the post and say stuff. So let me give you an example. So when we did the roofing tiles, I posted it on my wall, and then somebody came under the post and said, so the roofing tiles, won't it emit chemicals and won't it kill people? And I jokingly asked the person, the banku you've been eating in the rubber, no? And the water you've been drinking from the pure water, has it killed you? I was just trying to be funny though. But what am I trying to say? People will say what they want to say. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you like follow Stonebwoy and Shatawale fans, they laugh at each other. It doesn't matter what their artists are doing. People will still laugh at you. But you need to understand that you have to, first of all, decide that you want to go on the journey. You have to have the conviction. See, before your entrepreneurship can benefit anybody, you yourself have to be convinced that you need to go on that journey. The journey is first for yourself. And you have to decide you want to go on the journey. You have to have the experience. It has to make sense for you yourself before it can benefit other people. When I started what I was doing now, I remember somebody said, I'm growing, this thing you are doing, you are wasting your life, you are wasting your time. I remember somebody told me that before. But, past year, it was gone. I didn't really care. You see, but I've gone on, I have like about 15 people that are on salary that I talked to you about. Just this year, I've created more than 10 jobs for women, for young people, and for others. I already have 200 desks in 7 schools where instead of the children inhaling the plastics and dying, they are rather having an enabled environment to thrive where they can live their dreams. So decide the journey you want to go on. Determine the competences you have, the gifts you have, things that you can do better than others. And just go on the journey. Learn along the journey. Apply the learnings quickly. Connect with people in capacity building opportunities. And finally, there's a lot of, so the grants are like free money because you don't have to pay it, but you have to account for it. But there's a lot of that money available now. Let me tell you why. In the past, our government will receive all the, let's say, international money to implement projects because some of the donors believe that, oh, the governments, they have good intentions. So they just give them the money, so you implement. Then they realize that, oh, most of the monies don't even end up where they are supposed to. So the donors are taking the money, they are splitting it into a minimum of 3 parts. They still give a part to the government knowing that they might still spend it, but they need a relationship because they are a foreign organization. Then the other 2 parts, they find incubation and acceleration hubs like Cody's Place. And then they support that project and let young people who don't have the stability and the proper structures to go through her program to be properly trained. Then they can receive some support to start their project. Then we have the more established businesses that have the governance structures, they have the systems and all that. And then you can also access some of those funding. So there's a lot of opportunities for young people, not for you to travel, get trained, connect with other young people globally. And you can do that now. You don't need to wait, leave university before you start doing anything. Michael Jackson started living his music dream when he was 5. Michael Jackson died when he was 50. Michael Jackson lived his dream for 45 years. In Africa, people, by the time people start living their dream, they're like 55 or 60. Then some blood pressure will hit you, and then 2 or 3 years later, you are dead and gone. So start now. That gentleman, you could have been a rich man by now if you didn't stop, if you were not listening to people. Still go back. So I'm encouraging you. Thank you.
We heard him. We have to be determined and let it pass here and let it pass there. So we'll take the final question and we move to the next session. So briefly, the young lady, go straight to the point, and in 30 seconds, our panelists are going to answer you.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Matilda, and I am interested in starting a waste management enterprise. But then I want to find out the first steps that I need to take and then the essential skills that I need to build on to be able to start a sustainable waste management enterprise.
Thank you. In 30 seconds, can we help her?
I would say that for a starter, do what Cordier started with, collection. So contact Cordier and learn how to start a collection business. Secondly, my project, which is collecting electronic waste, we have funding for items collected. So when you contact the lady who gave you the microphone, Edwina, or what is I say, any of them, they will link you up. But the most important thing is, don't go the high tech because that one is capital intensive. Start from collection and build towards its end. Thank you.
So we will actually be doing a class on developing sustainable plastic waste management businesses. You can visit our desk here. It will take place next month in October. I think it's scheduled for the 3rd week, but we'll go over everything from starting your business to your standard operational procedures and then common issues to face, as well as engagement of informal sector. So it will be a 3-day course. But if you're interested, you can visit our stand out here that has the recycling machine next to it. And then you can sign up for the course and we can support you in that.
Okay, so we take the last question, please, briefly, and Mr. Uko will just answer.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, my name is Thomas Kanga, coming from tech background, software engineering. Previously, I was thinking of building an app that can track the weather system in order to attract some funding to scale it. But I saw that, from the presentation, there is the need to focus on low-key fruits, since they take, a embarrassment or the landscape is not that fertile, especially for the rural areas. So I would be glad to have further dialogue on the possible low fruits or the low-hanging fruits that I can start with or that I can leverage on in order to make my startup sustainable. And again, I also see that for the climate space, mostly when you are venturing into it, it is more of like social action. And as youth, sometimes we need to be sustaining in terms of finance. So how do we bring entrepreneurship or funding or self-funding with this social impact as far as climate actions are concerned? Thank you.
Okay, good one. So the first part, you can still create a tech solution and still. So for every project you want to do, there's the low-hanging fruits for every project. So if your area of competence is tech, I'm a person of gift and passion and competence. If that is your area of competence, it's okay to stay there. You can still use tech to create solutions for rural folks. Mobile money is a tech solution. Don't rural folks use mobile money? How do they use it? They use a USSD platform. So I'm able to download the MTN app on my iPhone and use. But the rural folks can also use their YAM phone, use their text messaging platform to still do the same things I do with my iPhone. So you can still create a tech solution relevant for rural communities. So I will encourage you to still do that. The other one relates to climate change and you thinking that there are more social solutions. So let me talk about the business and entrepreneurship side of climate change. When you talk about green economy, let me explain what it is. So one, green economy has to do with improving well-being of people. That's one. Most of you, when you hear green economy, are thinking about renewable energy and solar, but it's bigger than that. It's well-being of people. That's one. 2, reducing inequalities. That's 2. 3, reducing environmental risks. That's 3. And the final one, dealing with ecological scarcity. So if you are creating, let's say, a solution where you've designed a water tap that when I go to the washroom and I finish using the toilet and I want to wash my hand, it's a low flow faucet, which means that the water is not gushing out so much, but it's flowing out in bits so that the water is not wasted. And the university can account for that maybe 60 or 70% savings on water that they use. That's a great solution. So you can still create that, and that's an entrepreneurship solution. You can create a system where you can use artificial intelligence to create a smart traffic light system. So that instead of the police people standing by the traffic light overriding the traffic, which I find very annoying. Already on Google Maps, you can see where the traffic is. You can see the roads that are free. So you can create a smart traffic light system that in the mornings, there is more time allocated for cars coming from Ebri to Accra. And in the evenings, there's more time allocated for cars coming from Accra towards this direction. And that will save us from emissions, that will save the country from pollution, that will improve productivity because people spend less time in traffic. So there's so much, entrepreneurship opportunity when it comes to climate change. But as you said, there are low-hanging fruits in every area that we need to look at. So you need to identify that. And to the other lady, Cody spoke about training. So training and capacity building is one of the places you start. The other place you start is research. So you have to go online. There are a lot of policy documents. There's a lot of research that you need to read about so that you can learn about the sector and then also attend more of circular economy and environmental sustainability workshops to meet with the other industry players. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Give it up for them. And Presec boys, in 2 weeks, you are going to Achimota to compete at Green Tails. And just for your information, if you win, the receptacle that you're going to have is coming from Macintosh, and he is the CEO. So You stayed here for yourself even before the competition. So yes, I hope you got inspired by these great works that these individuals are doing. We are here to connect. So all you have to do is you can approach them. Don't sit down there after the event. You could approach them or visit their desk outside. Has anyone taken a selfie today? Because I forgot to take one. A minute, please. You can also take your phone. Let's do that right now. Everyone take a selfie. I took a selfie with our panelists. And hashtag Elkoi Ghana 2025. Let's do that right now. Yeah, I got this. So we'll take a group photo. As they're taking a group photo, pick up your phones and let's do it on Snap, on LinkedIn, on X, Facebook, and tag Unia and Elkoi Ghana. So on Instagram, it's Elkoi GH. Yes, so we are having the professional photography. Yes, hashtag Elkoi GH2025. Amazing. Great. Thank you so much. So like I said, after the event, you can go on and speak to these people. The working millionaires, yes. You don't get to see them often. Great. Now we've had all the practical stuff. We had the foundations of Elkoi and all the diplomatic technicalities. Now let's move to climate smart agriculture and mobility. So our next session is going to be on climate-induced mobility, skills, and smart agriculture. That is to build adaptive livelihoods. And we have another power-packed session. So I would love, with a round of applause, can we welcome Ms. Salamatu Idrisu from the Parliament of Ghana. Keep clapping till you see her, till you hear your voice, quickly. Reset. Someone's a recycle, really. Let's give it up for her. Review. Great. So I think the whole conversation is beginning to make sense. Initially, everyone was just confused about all these terminologies, but it has been broken down to let you know what you can do with your talent, with your passion, and your innovation. So we have Ms. Salamatu who's going to moderate, and I'll quickly call forth our panelists for today. So we have the National Project Officer from the IOM Ghana, Dr. Eric Akumenyi. We've seen him already. Let's give it up for him again. We also have Dr. Michael Jiwonu from the Council Scientific Industrial Research, CSIR, who's also joining us this afternoon. We are also joined by Ms. Felicity Ahafiano, who's the chief forecaster. I want to see this lady. Presec boys, just get inspired by this chief forecaster. Someone mentioned about having to build a tech and app to predict the weather. So I think you can learn from her. I can't hear you shouting. Can you clap and shout? We also have the National Project Coordinator from the International Labour Organization, Gideon Macralo. Let's give it up for him. Is Gideon here? And finally, we have Evans Asamoah Eje, who is the Chief Resilience and Sustainability Officer from C40 cities. Let's give it up for him. Until they take their seats, keep clapping. This is the final panel discussion, so I will entreat you to keep taking notes and have your questions ready. You wouldn't meet them anywhere else aside Alcohol Ghana 2025. So I'll leave Ms. Salamatu to take over, and you jot down your questions and we'll take them later. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. For the opportunity. I'm Salamatu Idrisu, and I'm excited to moderate this session. And for the sake of time, I would give it to my panel members to introduce themselves in a word or something, how to give them a different, how we should know them better, except the bio, we have their bios and everything, so that's their professional qualifications. But in a word, how should the audience, get to know you? So, Mr. Eric.
Thank you very much, Madam Salamatu. My name is Eric Kwame Akumenyi. I work with the IOM as a National Project Officer, working specifically on Migration and Development Nexus, and then also managing a climate change project. IOM, briefly, is the UN agency responsible for migration management. And kindly take note, we are a bit distinct from UNHCR, which has the mandate for refugees. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Jiwono, and I'm a research scientist with CSIR, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And CSIR has, I think, 13 institutes spread across the country. And I'm with the Institute for Scientific and Technological Information in Accra. And we basically deal in research on technology and science, basically. So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to the discussions.
Thank you. I'm Felicity Ahafianyu, the famous weather forecaster. A lot of people know the name, know the voice, but then the figure, I think some of you are seeing it for the very first time. I work with the Ghana Meteorological Agency as a climate scientist. I'm into the public weather service. If you want the forecast for your wedding, for your activities, farming, you want to travel, anything, that is what we do. And we are trying our best to see how we can bring the youth on board so that they can pick up the challenge. Some say, we said, na but we are trying our best. And we need you on board. So I'm here for the discussion and see how we can find lasting solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon to you all. So my name is Avansa Samoje. I work as the Resilience and Sustainability Officer for the City of Accra, and also works as the City Advisor for C40 Cities. So C40 Cities is a network of mayors over 100 from over 100 cities, with about 14 in the African region, put together to take climate action. And so we support a lot of cities. Currently, we are supporting Accra. Earlier on, we supported Accra in the development of the Climate Action Plan, which we are also supporting them to implement aspects of the Climate Action Plan. Thank you very much. Great to interact with you.
Okay. Thank you so much. As a country and in our world, we know how climate affects our daily lives. It has induced mobility and a whole lot of issues. When you go to China, we think China is advanced, we go to them and a whole lot. But as of 2023, about 4.7% million of their people were displaced because of climate change. When you come to Africa, it is projected that by 2050, we'll have a lot of issue as because of climate-induced mobility. So as a country, I like to put it across to all of us. Do we think we can make progress in fighting the climate crisis and the induced mobility problem to you all.
Thank you very much. I like your question. And this is what we work on at IOM, trying to address issues of displacement using what we call the HDP and the Human Development Peace Nexus, and then trying to look at the root causes of displacement and then try to find solutions, lasting solutions to them. And one of the drivers basically is climate-induced mobility. So we don't even talk of climate migration, but climate-induced mobility, because the terminologies in terms of distinguishing human mobility from migration are different, because mobility could be over short-term distance, migration could be over longer distance, and then over duration, over different duration. So this is what we work on with IOM. And what we see is that when people are displaced, the impact is huge. It affects families, it affects women, it affects the youth. Women are at the brunt of it. They need to make sure everybody is secured before they move. But what we see is that when people are moving as a result of displacements, they also carry along with them solutions. And we need to harness these solutions. We need to make sure that they are part of the solution that we are trying to provide. And I would want to discuss this with an example. When it comes to the previous panel discussing waste collection, pickets, and whatever, and I think Evans will speak more to it, what we realize that we have a lot more migrants involved in that space in the city of Accra, who are contributing to collecting waste that ordinarily most Ghanaians would not do. You have Burkinabés, you have Nigerians who, because of either weather failure and what have you, are moving away from the land to the cities to find some of this work to do. And they are providing critical solution in terms of waste management. But we believe when it's well harnessed, when it's well structured, there's a lot of value that we could get out of it. So I think there is a solution, there is a way out, and if we are purposeful around it in terms of what we want to do, we'll be able to find a solution to it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eric. Mr. Michael?
Yeah, so I think for CSIR, we are a national institution for research, basically. So most of the 13 institutes over the years, over the decades, have conducted groundbreaking research, specifically in the north where we deal with issues of drought. The SARI, Savannah Agriculture Research Institute, have developed climate-resistant crop varieties to at least to be resistant to the issues of desertification that is going from the Sahel region upcoming. And also we have the Crops Research Institute, which is also doing amazing work in Kumasi, and the Soil Research Institute that is also helping to improve soil health, which is quite important for communities that are dealing with poor soil health due to climate change, right? So through our research, we've been able to develop solutions, right, to communities, specifically in the northern zone, that are struggling with, that are having much of the impact of climate change. Yeah. So in the south, the Water Research Institute, the industrial research are also developing research and technology solutions to help improve green solutions that would help employ a lot of people within the southern zone. So there's a lot of cross-cutting research going on, and there's a lot of industrial linkages as well, right? So yeah, so I think that's what CSR has been doing over the years. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. At my agency, Ghana Meteorological Agency, we are doing a lot. Most people think that we just go into the open, use our naked eyes to view the sky, and then give that today is going to rain, today is going to shine. No, that is not what we do. We use science and art. We use IT. We have programmers, script writers. We use science, physics, and mathematics. Without that background, you will not be able to function. Now, you have to add communication skill, how you are going to interpret this chart, how you are going to interpret the forecast to the general public. So at my unit, we deal with the aviation industry, the pilots. They give them the forecast for them to plan their routes. For the water system institutions. We give them the forecast, the year-long forecast, the month that will be dry, the month that will be wet, so that they can plan. For the energy sector, our normal VRA, the energy generation, we give them the necessary forecast that they can use to plan their policies. And then for the general public too, we also issued that. So the farmers per se, they are one of our major stakeholders that we do the seasonal forecast for, because if they don't get the forecast right and they don't plant the right variety pertaining with the weather session for the year, it's likely the two of us will go hungry. Okay. So we provide them, and then they generate the cropping calendar, know when to plant, know when to harvest, and then know how to store, so that at the end of the day, we are able to. So for us, this is what we are doing, helping the policymaker to make the good use of the information. Then now we are going into projections, 5 years to come. How will the weather pattern be? 100 years to come, how is it going to be? So that the policymaker can plan now that 10 years to come, Northern Ghana is going to experience a drought. And when it's drought, what is there for them to do? Should they involve or invest more capital in terms of irrigational system? If we come to the south, those in the agri sector, the rain will delay or the rain will be too much. What should they do? How can they store the excess water so that at the end of the day, we have the resources that we need to achieve everything that we want? So yes, at my institution, we are doing our best to see how we can help.
Thank you very much, Doc.
All right, thank you very much. So for us, we are resilient builders, and what we do is to support and building the resilience of the city of Accra, and to be able to withstand some of these challenges. I would say that in the process of building the resilience level of the cities, or of our member cities, we are underpinned by 4 major principles. 1, fairness, equity, just, and inclusivity. And inclusivity deals much more with how we'll be able to involve everybody that matters into the conversation. And so, classic example for Accra, in most of our activities and most of our engagement that we have come to realize that we need to give special attention to the marginalized communities, marginalized individuals, and that is how come we came about the ICA program that saw a lot of informal waste actors being formalized or being brought into the formal waste system in Accra. In fact, it is the gaps and needs assessment of that program that led to the second leg of the program, which was funded by IOM, which we must say that it has gone a long way to build the capacity of the city team, and also integrated the informal waste workers and informal waste pickers, who are mostly migrants, into the city's processes. Now, when they come in, when they migrate into the city, they come with their own stresses, and within themselves are solutions. However, because of insufficient infrastructure, they end up putting a lot of pressure on the little infrastructure that we have. But in the process of building our resilience and educating and integrating them into the city's process, we have come to realize that they are very important resource people for the city. Okay. It will interest you to know, when we're talking about waste, that about 57% of the total collection, of the total waste collection in Accra is being by the informal waste pickers. Most of them are migrants. That tells you how important they are to our system, and the reason why we need to include them. The activities either affect climate change positively or negatively. The very reason why we always include them in our engagement. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. This looks like an all-hands-on-deck thing. It's not a one-man's job. Like CSR is into research, and they are doing it actively. Your urban resilience and Madam Felicity's forecasting. It's an interesting stakeholder involvement, which needs everybody on board. Thank you so much for your input. So I'll come to Evans. Yes. So I know you've been leading this resilience, for a while now. And at a practical level, what does it mean to build an urban, economy? And the kind of economy that can withstand climate shocks and also absorb internal migration. Is there anything in?
Yeah, so for us as resilience people and for us at the city level, when we say building a resilient urban economy, we are talking about 4 things. One, building a system or building a structure or system that will withstand and adapt to climate, waves like floods, like sea level rise, and changes in temperature. 2, we are also looking at building a system that will be able to absorb and integrate mobility into conversations. That means you're building a system that is inclusive. So we look at issues of mobility, issues of migration, and issues of social integration, financial integration, economic integration. We also look at fostering sustainable economic growth. So we look at innovation, we look at entrepreneurship. And finally, we also ensure that there is a social cohesion and stability. And so when we say building resilience, we look at these 4 things for us. So if we say your economy is resilience, it should be able to adapt and stand the stresses of changes in weather pattern. It should be very inclusive and should be able to absorb and allow other people to also operate. It should be able to sustain economic growth, and finally should be able to allow people to interact at their level. So that is what it means for us. Okay.
That's interesting. Thank you so much. Madam Felicia, Evans mentioned adaptation, weather adaptation and everything. We can clearly tell that climate uncertainty doesn't only affect farmers. It has its ripple effects to food vendors, transporters, and even logistic businesses. From your position, how can weather and climate services be brought in to support the wider range of livelihoods?
Yeah, thank you so much. I've worked with my agency for like 26 years now, and uncertainty is not only for Ghana, it cuts across. Yeah. And for us to get the information to the broader viewers or audience or our end users, we need to involve everybody. And then how can we get the information by putting it into the local language and then helping them to understand the technical words that we use, and then for them also to understand how they can use this information. Because the watcher seller by the roadside, if it rains today, without her getting the forecast the previous day and understanding that okay, the rain will come at 9 to 12 noon, and then he can plan his activities or make a structure that is that can withstand the storms or the rains, and then may not even prevent her from doing her business at that particular location. So we have to involve everybody, get the language for science into the local language for them to understand and then be able to get it. Now, for them to get the information on time, how can we do it? We need the IT. We need the communication industry to help us broadcast the information to them timely, and then for them to take that necessary action. But then if we are not getting it, at the end of the day, the uncertainty keep increasing. Though we are getting it right, but then they are not getting it on time. At the end of the day, we have a problem to solve. So as young as we are, we can come up. I think one person raised a concern that he has developed an app. That is one way of finding a solution to that problem. So once we are able to adapt to that and use it effectively, they will be able to get through to it.
Thank you very much. And to our audience, Madam Felicia says a call to action. We should be innovative, just like somebody mentioned, developing an app. There should be other things to do to help ourselves and the climate as well. Thank you very much, Madam Felicia. So, Michael, you know what's coming to you. So, you know, research, we do a lot of research, and oftentimes it's believed that the people who matter in these researches are not really factored in. When it comes to climate-induced mobility or climate crisis, one might argue that it affects women a lot. It burdens them economically, their health, it increases gender-based violence and other things. But when these researches are being done, it's argued that the informal people who are really, should I say, informal or less endowed people who are vulnerable people who matter in these researches are not really, taken into consideration. What is CSR doing in your research to combat, climate crisis?
I might have to disagree with you because CSR have done a lot in gender mainstreaming, because most of our fundings are through research grants, international organizations, which they require gender mainstreaming in their research policies. So one thing that we do as, I think for my institution, or my institute and other institute, is to do validation workshops, where once they go on the field to gather data, they go back to the community to engage them about the accuracy of this information, right? They validate. Is an essential part of the research process, right? So there are some research projects that are specifically targeted towards women in rural areas, right? So for instance, Madam was talking about the cropping calendar. So I think CSR has, my institute have developed a software cropping calendar, and we got the data from GMET to develop that, and in addition to soil data, weather data, and other gender data, at least to provide more accurate information for implementation of any projects that, in terms of the government wants to do, right? And recently, I think we did a project that seeks to, I think a lot of international organizations over the years have funded a lot of climate smart agriculture projects, right? Okay. So they realized that there's a lack of synergy between all these projects. So they wanted to map all the climate smart agriculture initiatives in Ghana over the decades, right? To see which people, whether the farmers are really benefiting from them and whether there is duplication of efforts, which there is, right? So they want to actually see which solutions work and where to target those solutions, right? So we provided that solutions, that technological solutions for them. And then we realized from their research that women benefit a lot from this smart climate change, smart climate agriculture initiatives, right? So these are some of the projects that we've done over the years, and also in terms of the Science and Technology Policy Institute has also organized training in terms of gender-based violence, and also in terms of mainstreaming community-based organizations into national policy frameworks, right? So all these institutions, all the institutes within the CSR have their specific mandates that are linked towards mainstreaming gender-based policies into various research agendas that we engage in. Yeah.
But there are existing frameworks at the district levels, grassroots, to ensure that not only do the people, not only do you get data from the people, but you also transcend it into something impactful to the communities.
Exactly. So those are some of the KPIs that comes along with some of this project implementation. So for instance, most of the World Bank projects that we work on, right, they require, it's actually in the contract, that you you implement mainstream gender-based policies in the project, right? It's actually a clause. So you are required, it's not, you are required to implement those policies. So we go up and beyond to implement those policies. And you have to also be aware that majority of these grants are within a period, right? So after the research ends, funding is cut. So how do you sustain this project? So luckily, CSR has been able to provide expertise and resources to sustain this project in certain communities, such as collaborations with extension officers, right? To provide them with the needed technical resources and expertise to visit farmers post the research phase, right? To check up on them and see how best they are implementing some of the research that has been produced by the various researchers. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So my ladies, my women, our stakeholders have you in mind. So be innovative, get to them, get data from them, and let's start something. So, Mr. Eric, okay. When it comes to migration, it's often framed as a crisis, okay? But could we begin to see it differently in our part of our world? How could we remodel it, make it something more suitable for, should I say impactful and suitable for our people? Okay.
Thank you very much. I think you couldn't have put it any better, that globally migration is seen as a crisis. The kind of political narrative around migration is also designed to generate hatred towards migrants. So, for instance, it's common to see a newspaper headline scream, swarms of migrants invade Europe. It's common to see aliens are taking over our country. These are all narratives that kind of puts migrants in a very negative light. And I would want to say the evidence do not point to that. We have a global population exceeding over 7 billion or so, but out of that, just 3.4 or 5% are migrants, which means that migrants constitute less than 2% of the global population. But this group are also carriers of a lot of innovation. This group are frontier personnel who have a lot of ideas that they are bringing on board. And so if we design or if we decide to intentionally look at the nexus between migration and development, then we can harness the benefits that migration do bring. I can give you an example of a lot of work IOM has done, where we have tapped into the expertise of Ghanaian migrants to engineer development in critical sectors in our development back home. In the early 1980s, we had a lot of Ghanaian medical doctors, professionals, teachers, living to see greener pastures. And in the process, when we had our medical facilities bereft of professionals, we had reached out to the Ghanaian diaspora, where we got a Ghanaian expert in the UK who was specialized in gynecology. And then she decides to take time off her work, come to Ghana and train medical professionals on new tools, new ideas around identifying cervical cancer. And this could only happen because she took the decision to migrate and to acquire knowledge, and now she is able to bring it back home. Why am I saying this? When we structure a meaningful migration process, which allows Ghanaians to explore, but also give them the opportunity to come back home, to contribute to development, then we'll begin to harness the development. When it comes to climate change, we have a program at IOM we call D4C, Diaspora for Climate Action, where we are beginning to tap into our diaspora community abroad to identify their expertise to fix specific climate issues that we are seeing in Ghana. So, for instance, we have a young man, Bismarck, who had traveled to Germany for studies, but in the process had acquired knowledge and skills in how to turn plastic waste into something reusable, turning it into bags. And now he's back home and is producing a lot of these plastic bags that we are using and contributing to recycling. So definitely we need to change the narrative around migration, that migration generally is positive. It's contributing now in excess of 6 billion in remittances to Ghana, which makes more than 6% of the GDP. So if we begin to see migration as a positive outcome, then we begin to harness it. I'm not saying there are no challenges, there are, but then when we structure a meaningful scheme to promote safe, orderly, and regular migration, we stand to benefit. Just to revisit the last question on gender dimensions when it comes to climate issue. In a recent study we had done with AMA in 4 localities within the AMA, so Glefe, Abubloshi, Odona, and then one other locality. Women came up strong in a focus group discussion that they are mostly left behind when it comes to design of early warning systems, for instance. When it comes to responding to coastal flooding, mostly it's the men that when the city authorities come, they would want to engage and then leave behind the women. But whenever there is crisis, the women are the last to leave to make sure the child is secure, everybody is secured before they move. So I think we need to be more intentional. We need to be more purposive to make sure that we are mainstreaming gender dimensions like CSIR is doing. At IOM, we aim to enhance knowledge. We aim to create a dialogue platform for these conversations to happen, and we aim to promote action to make sure that we are seeing concrete results. So I'm happy to see the pre-seconds, but maybe next year we can have pre-sec and EBRI, and then we can have the Ebugis combination perfectly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So So, Michael, research-wise, you think migration, devoid of climate change and other crises, you think migration is healthy for our country?
Of course, migration is, humans are inherently a migratory species, right? Right, we've been migrating for centuries, right? And we have both internal and external migration, right? So for instance, if you look at rural-urban migration, right, mainly from the north to south, right, it's fueled mainly by opportunities in the south, employment opportunities, and of course, lack of opportunities in the northern sector. So they've contributed significantly to the economy, specifically in the informal sector. And of course, I think the informal sector is the major contributor to the economy, right? And it's fueled primarily by rural-urban migration. And if you look at international migration, a lot of international students, right, travel to various countries for postgraduate degree programs, right? And then sometimes they return to, to share their expertise, right, in various sectors of the economy. So migration is quite beneficial. Of course, my brother mentioned the recent rhetoric around issues of migration, which is misguided. However, that calls into a broader discussion as to how developing countries, right, would be able to provide policy incentives for key people who've migrated to the global north to come back and share their knowledge to grow the economy, right? So what we have to do is improve the conditions of the citizens within the economy so that at least the people will be ready to come and share their expertise back home. So migration is very beneficial.
So you would encourage that our youth today, Japa?
No, I was a beneficiary of migration. When I finished my undergraduate degree, I did my master's and PhD outside, and I came back to contribute to my quota.
I get
right?
you.
So
I get you.
it's possible for people to do that.
So there should always be a way. Yes, there should always be a way out. It should come back to...
The right word is return migration.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. So, Madam Felicity, when it comes to climate-induced mobility, women are often affected, okay? But we are being encouraged to find adaptive solutions. In a conversation like this and in your line of work, do you think that women are prioritized, okay, to be more innovative in this space? One may argue, in a space like this, I've heard stories, women talk about how they are sidelined based on other things I would like to mention. So how do we make it better?
Thank you. I want to use myself as an example. When I joined the Ghana Meteorological Agency, I think we were about only 10 ladies at the time. And then when I shifted to the forecasting bit, I became the only lady, the only woman among gentlemen. So you can see from that angle, the voices are not there to support the gender for women, for not sidelining us. But now, where I work currently, my office, we are about 16 staff, and then we have about 12 ladies. So whatever we are doing in this weather space, we are conscious because we know the mothers need the information so that they can dry the baby's things. The mothers need the weather information so that they can quickly go to the market, get the food. The working mothers, how can they plan the activities? How can the forecast benefit them? So until we bridge that gap, when it comes to equality in every field that we find ourselves in, we will definitely have a challenge. But then at our end, we are trying our bit, looking at the farmers, the women in farming, trying our best to get to them. And our plan for this year, the last quarter, we are focusing on women only so that we can educate them more. And next year, we are going to roll out a full scale. We started, and then definitely we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Evans, you're conscious about building resilience. Okay. In doing that, let me use our young women head porters, Kaya people, okay? They come here seeking, you know, they come here seeking, should I say greener pastures? Or because their economy, their livelihood out there aren't really good, so they come here seeking a better livelihood. When it comes to building, like I mentioned about the economy and structuring your resilience, how do you factor women in to ensure that they are protected, they are secured, and the policies or initiatives you take factor these women in?
All right, okay. So I think it's an important issue that has been coming up for quite some time now in our work, integrating women and children. And so even before our IOM program, we had a program with the Bloomberg Foundation where we ensured that women, informal waste pickers, especially females and children, are integrated into formal waste action. And as part of the interventions, we went ahead to build a safe haven for some of their kids. We've done a lot of trainings to be able to integrate women and also rescale them, especially the Kayayes, into other meaningful livelihoods that they can be able to use their families. We also believe that women are very critical to the development of the city of Accra. And for that matter, we ensure that in all our engagements, at least women are factored in the conversation. They are invited. Women are given equal opportunities to grow. Women are given equal opportunities to envision and set ambitions for themselves. And it's been very solid because even our previous mayor had the opportunity to even do several conferences for women, especially Kaya. Yes, our current mayor has also done a couple of that. And that tells us about how the city now looks at women and the marginalized communities as critical tools for development. So we really see the potency in their existence, and we integrate them into everything that we do. And that for us is one of the surest bet of sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My question is directed to Mr. Evans, right? Great. So when I look at the Accra Climate Action Plan, heat is mentioned 14 times. Urban heat island effect is mentioned 3 times. We are talking about climate-induced mobility. We obviously know that urban heat island effect is going to be something that is is very detrimental, especially given the context of Accra. In your position, do you think Accra needs a heat action plan?
All right, so I smile because we're having this conversation yesterday with my colleague of mine from EP, Esther. I think she's here. Yes. Of course, it's true. If you look at the current Accra Climate Action Plan, 2020 to 2025, which is going to be reviewed, or which we have started the reviewing process this year, we hopefully by 2026 we will have a new or reviewed CAP. Even though we have heat, urban heat and other things mentioned in it, there has not been actual actions in there to tackle urban heat. You can check. And we would admit that as at the time that we were developing that document, it was not a major present conversation for us. But going forward, Eric can bear us witness, we have identified important sectors to be integrated into our CAP. One of it is heat waves, and the other one is human mobility. And we've even had several engagements on that to prioritize actions into that. And so be rest assured that we may not have a standalone heat wave plan or urban heat plan, but we will have a new revised climate action plan that will have urban heat integrated into it. For that one, we can be rest assured. It is very important. Before that, we have even started taking actions. And so with C40, with SC for all and all that, we've started doing researches to understand the landscape of heat issues in Accra and how we'll be able to use local knowledge in resolving some of these issues. And one of the solutions that we have been looking at currently is the use of white roofings You know, when you paint your roofs white, it's able to reflect light and reduce heat and reduce heat retention into the buildings. And so these are some of the issues that we are looking at. But be rest assured that in the next CAP, we will see urban heat as a major sectorial action in it.
Thank you so much. So to conclude, I'd like to ask Mr. Evans to give us one adaptive plan. So far, from the Office of the IMO, what are we doing? Evans mentioned you work collaboratively, so what do you do? Just 20 seconds.
Yes,
we are
so
wrapping up.
what we're basically doing with the AMA is we've done a territorial analysis, and now we just finished an advertisement to recruit a consultant to lead a nature-based solution. And so we are at the design phase in terms of the intervention, and we are happy to receive any ideas on how to strengthen that, but we are not designing. We're looking at waste collection, informal waste collection. We're trying to look at recycling, upscaling, and all those kind of things. So those are the kind of things we are looking at for now. I know we are pressed for time.
Yeah, thank you so much. It looks like it's still a work in progress, so the youth, be innovative. Bring your ideas on board. You're ready to adapt it and then make it into a better one. Thank you so much for being a part of this
So take
session.
a group photo now. And Madam Felicity, will you be broadcasting tonight? Those of you who cannot really recognize her, she is the chief forecaster, GTV News, Evening News. The lady who always comes to tell you about the weather is her right there. So you can ask your teachers, look at her.
Yes, I really wanted to direct us. We are doing the forecast 3 times daily. Okay. We issue the first one at 5 a.m., the second at 11, the last one for the day at 5 p.m. And for the whole week, we release it on Monday at 5 p.m., where you plan your whole activities from Monday evening till Sunday. So you know when the rainstorm will come for your area so that you can plan your activity. So go to our website, Ghana Meteorological Agency, and then you follow us on our social media handles. You can also have access to our 5-day forecast on My World Weather app. Google it on a Google Store or Apple Store, install it, pick the cities that you are interested in, and then it will be giving it to you. And then Flood Alert 2, My Flood Risk Accra app. It will also give you an alert that the storm that is coming, the area you are, Weja, Kaneshi, Preset Junction, the place will be flooded in the next 2 hours so that you can get it. So please.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, give it up for them. Let's take a group photo. So I think we can stand, or do you want to see? You can sit if you want to. It's not it can be a different style. Okay, so we'll do both. And now we can stand. If you came to Elkhorn, you should have a souvenir. Either it's the knowledge, or you're getting an SDG brooch, or something that speaks about environment and sustainability, or you can even go and play the games outside. But for me, my souvenir that I want to take away today is a photo with Madame Felicity. Thank you so much. It's been a great session with you all, and I believe that now our students are getting inspired to get to know how they can have careers in climate change and sustainability. Shall we welcome the convener of Elkhorn Ghana 2025? Please keep clapping. And he is going to launch the Green Skills Readiness Program. This is a program to train over 3,000 youth in the green economy.
Thank you very much. So just a quick one. This is just a quick announcement. So somewhere within June, we had a stakeholder consultation with most of the stakeholders in the green space. So people into green skills or trainings, technical institutions and all of that. And then after the stakeholder engagement, we were able to develop the Green Skills Readiness Program. And we decided that as part of Elkhorn, we are going to officially launch it. And as part of this, we've been able to partner with Environment 360 and with the training hub. we are offering a free scholarship. So this is because there's a lot of involvement when it comes to finances and materials for trainings. So they're going to be doing different aspects, aquaculture training, we're going to be doing plastics recycling, different types of trainings that is going to be available. So you can register for this training. It's going to start in the next 2 weeks. So not the week coming, the week after Tuesday, we kickstart. So once you go to the table where they have the recycled plastics there, there's a collaboration there with the GSRP. That's what you can see, that the Green Skills Readiness Program, which is an initiative by UNIA, United Youth Initiative for Africa, the host for ELCO and Gen Green, sowing in right from 4 days. So UNIA does the first day. We're looking at mind shifts and also branding and also proposals, how to win grants, how to be able to access the monies and all of that. And then Environment 360 also gives you the practicality in different aspects of the skills training you may want. Now we'll be doing this also with other organizations that also offer trainings. So we also have with this GSRP, we have what we call functional groups. So we have the institutions that develop the curriculum-based trainings. We have institutions that are into technical bits. We have institutions that are into soft trainings. So these are different. We've been able to collaborate along so that we can help. We are also looking to see how we bridge the marketing gap. So if you are here, you want to do, let's say, plastics, and you're doing something with plastics, but you are not able to have access to market, at a bigger level. This is also one of the things GSRP is looking to do. So how can we help people in the green business or green economy get access to the market, also create the market for various products that people are trying to create. It's also going to have a mobile training concept to it. So we're going to be taking this to various communities and make sure that it's tailored to what the communities want. So officially, we want to say that this is launched, and you can have access to trainings by the Green Readiness Skills Program. We'll also, if you're someone who's into the space and you're looking for that, as part of this, you can see outside that you'd see a lady who has some bags with jeans, clothing, and all. She's also a product of the GSRP, so she is doing our waste to clothing to fashion, waste to fashion bits, so you can see the products she's made, and all of those were waste jeans from Kantamanto, where people would have bent, and that is what you see in there. So we're launching this, and the training is available. It's going to be free. It's going to cover all the materials that you need and everything. It's also going to cover the certification and all for the 4 days training. So if you want to be part of it, or you know someone who wants to be part of it, you can just reach out at the table there. We take names. You find the place you want, what you want to do, and then they let you know from there. Yeah. So thank you so much, Emery. And yeah, I believe we're moving on to the breakout, and then we can call it a day.
Great. So we are moving on to the final session, where we are going to co-create solutions. So during the breakout session, we are going to give out some snacks, so you don't have to move as you are learning, you are discussing, debating. We'll just give you your snacks. So this is the final part, and to all facilitators of the breakout session, I want to entreat you to stick to time, strictly 20 minutes. Strictly 20 minutes. So if you are interested in these topics, you have to stay here, and we'll divide you. So this is the first topic, that is on